It's Monday, people. How are you doing? Louis here for the second week in a row of our questions and discussion segment of the story. You can find last week's session in the description, the highlight section below if you're following us on Instagram. But otherwise, this week we're going to talk about this particular post right here. The 3 rules that you want to consider when jumping into business or entrepreneurship. And let's just go into them. Number 1, do not sell what you yourself wouldn't buy, right? Number 2 is not listening to people that you don't necessarily respect or admire. And number 3 is choosing to only work with people that you truly enjoy working with. From a personal perspective, it served me really well following these rules, and I've also known that the opposite is true if you don't. But ultimately comes down to your overall perspective. So you will never know unless you try. But I think number 1 is pretty self-explanatory. You just want to make sure that you're checking off a few items before you move forward on this one. And those items could be, is it of good quality? Does the value of the actual item or product exceed the price point at which the customer is paying for that product or service? At the same time, too, you want to make sure that you're proud of this overall product as well, because it's a reflection of you and your values as a business owner or entrepreneur. And it ultimately just will determine whether customers keep coming back or choose not to do business with you moving forward. So that's number 1, and a very short list of a very long list you should consider. But number 2 talks about not listening to people that you don't respect or admire. And that comes down to really determining who those people are in your sphere of influence. And you just want to make sure that you're not necessarily taking everyone's feedback to heart, but really mobilizing that and adjusting as you go. When it comes down to working with people you enjoy, you're going to have to find that out. All right, so number 3, let's just preface this real quick. You only want to work with people that you enjoy working with. But you will not find that out if you work by yourself. So you want to make sure that you put yourself out there and collaborate, volunteer, communicate, do outreach, like a whole lot of experimentation to figure out what your sweet spot for communication is. And then you will end up finding out those individuals that you really work well with as well, because, you've really figured out what the do's and don'ts are in your experimentation journey. So ultimately, this is just a great way to build great working relationships with people and organizations as well. And once you figure that out, just keep milking it, keep leveraging it, because it's working. Why stop it or why fix it if it's not broken? Just keep using that as an opportunity to grow your business and your sphere, and that will essentially pay you dividends for the long term. So it's all about relationships in the world of business. And so the world of business is about relationships, but you want to remain objective, because you can't only be growing relationships with people that always and only make you feel good. You want to have some challenge. You want people that will push you in the direction that is difficult, so that you are able to think outside the box and really innovate and remain and stay creative and not remain complacent, So ultimately, you don't want to be only looking to gravitate towards like someone who will be as nurturing and loving as your mother, that's not necessarily the most growth minded approach to actually establishing good working relationships with individuals in a working environment or business environment. So you want to be very thoughtful and critical of that. But ultimately, these are just the 3 rules that, just a few rules that you should consider before jumping into entrepreneurship or business. And I hope you guys gained a lot from this session. We'll do it again next week. Real quick, before you guys go, I'm going to demonstrate how I have reflected on these 3 rules as a proof of concept. So stay tuned. All right, so in demonstrating rule number 1 for you guys in selling what I myself would buy, I'm currently wearing it. This is a brand that my wife and I started called Spark by AMPtheNorth, and it supports a partnership that we have developed or established with a foundation that supports children in underprivileged parts of Ghana or rural parts of Ghana by offering them school supplies and education material to make sure that they're not lagging behind with respect to educational needs. So every sale at our store supports that partnership, so make sure to check it out. I'll tag it up top here. And this is just my demonstration of my pride and sense of fulfillment of an actual product that we've taken our time to cultivate and grow, and at the same time too, something that is also very ingrained in who we are and our values as individuals and business owners. So as an example of number 1, this is what I mean. Spark by AMPtheNorth is my example, and by all means, go support it. Yes, I'm going all the way today. But ultimately, number 2 and 3 touch on things that I, practice pretty actively. I'm very selective when it comes to the individuals that I'm getting my advice from. I always want to hold in high esteem the advice from the individuals that I believe to be at a stage in life and business that I would like to attain myself. And I can only do that by being narrow-minded in that respect, in an open-minded sort of way. But excuse the paradox. It really comes down to your overall perspective. It really comes down to your overall environment. And if you identify individuals you would love to emulate, by all means, contact them and quiz them on how they got to where they got to, and work around that information for yourself. When it comes down to number 3, it's about surrounding. So you alone can tell what works for you. And so it's all about flexibility in this sense. You want to make sure that you are working with as many people as possible to identify what that sweet spot is for collaborating or communicating with individuals or organizations, just to make sure that your overall operations are as smooth as possible. But ultimately, if you're looking to get some help with your business related services like website development, business planning, heck, even branding, contact AMPtheNorth. We'll be more than happy to help you. For those of you that are looking to get over the hump for a job, if you need any interview coaching or resume writing and cover letter formulation, contact us as well for that, and we'd be more than happy to be of service. But at the end of the day, I really appreciate you guys staying with me this long for this Monday session, and I'll make sure to get some questions in and answers into you guys tomorrow.